Welcome to the Colleges Wales Teach Pod podcast series. Supported by Welsh Government, these 10-minute sessions offer further education lecturers and work-based learning practitioners practical learning and teaching tips. With contributions from colleges from across Wales, the series offers professional learning opportunities for staff in the FE sector to hear about examples of best practice. There are 4 key themes: resilience, digital, differentiation and A-level pedagogy. For further information, please visit colleges.wales.
Hello, this is Pembrokeshire College and I'm Steph Tyndall, Quality Learning and Teaching Manager. The theme for this podcast is differentiation and we've called it Striving for Inclusion. We hope it's going to provide for you a thought-provoking discussion with some top tips included. I'm here today with Emma, Johnny and Crystal and I'm going to hand over to them to introduce themselves.
Hi guys, my name's Johnny Locke. I'm an A-level lecturer here at the college. I'm also an independent level skills course tutor and I'm also an Aspire ALN coach. And I'm going to hand you over to Em.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma Jones, the Learning Support and Equality Manager. And Crystal.
Hi everyone, I'm Crystal Davis. I'm a Specialist Assessor at the college.
Nice. And we're all here with coffee and cake, which is our bonus. Thank you so much for that. We're going for the whole coffee shop vibe.
Nice and relaxed.
Nice and relaxed, absolutely. And hopefully you are nice and relaxed when you are listening to this podcast.
Okay, thank you guys. I think we've set the scene. So we are all extremely passionate in our different roles about inclusion and differentiation, and in particular our learners with additional learning needs in mainstream education, mainstream sessions in the FE sector and work-based learning. So we're just going to chat about what we're passionate about with some top tips and actually some things that maybe we've come across in our experience that have gone wrong or things to avoid and things to really go for. And so we hope that our passion for ALN and inclusion comes through in this podcast. Okay, so here we go. What common assumptions as practitioners might we make for our ALN learners?
Some staff can say it's not my problem. ALN is support. That's an LSA's problem. I don't know how Em feels about that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think at the moment, or there historically has been a bit of a disconnect between us working in a silo as learning support. We have a few sort of ambassadors throughout the college that really sort of buy into that ethos, but there is a large percentage of people that still feel that that only takes place when one of our team is present and not something that can happen throughout the day and that they can be quite a influential part of. So I think one of the things from that is that there is the assumption to jump to the highest level of support first.
Yeah, straight away.
So it's the questions are normally, where's the LSA because I have an ALN in the classroom? Whereas actually, there could be some other things that they could do.
Yeah, I think they really need to sort of reflect with the learner and sort of really see what the learner is capable of before jumping, like you said, to that high level of support and getting to know them. And sort of working alongside them.
And going on from what you were saying, Crystal, it's about not underestimating the learner.
Yeah,
it's about saying, that because they've got an ALN, they can't do something, so therefore they must have support in order to do that. No, we need to be building capacity into the classrooms rather than, as you said, going straight for that finite resource of an LSA.
It's about working with that social model, so it's turning on its head what ALNs, or the negativities or the negative connotations that can be had by staff. And we're trying to do that as the culture change with our literature that's going out to staff, with the way in which we're writing our support documents. So it's more about the positivity that a dynamic class space can bring to you as a teacher, rather than looking at all of the barriers that might bring.
It's about, removing the barriers as best as possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
In any which way that you can, and sort of working together with other staff and making reasonable adjustments for learners in the classroom. Small things can make a really big difference.
Crystal, that's a really valid point, removing the barriers. But in my experience, sometimes we actually create the barriers in our over-support almost, in that we try to be so inclusive in the classroom for our ALN learners that actually we exclude them. And we don't always realise that. So what do you think of that? Or what do you think in that regard is the most important thing to remember? What's our top tip here?
What we're trying to do is to create independence
and
foster independence, encourage independence whenever possible. And sometimes that does mean taking a step back or encouraging and prompting rather than swooping in with answers and clues all the time, giving the learner time to process information, even if that's a period of maybe 8 to 10 seconds that may feel uncomfortable initially, but I think it's really important that we get used to pausing and allowing that learner to respond and process information in the classroom.
And to find their voice.
Yeah.
I think as facilitators and practitioners, we're very keen to speak for learners, and it's that whole 8-second wait, as you mentioned, Crystal. It does feel like a long time, but you can then end up putting answers and answering for people.
As well, with over-supporting, we almost take away the opportunity for learners to learn. So as you were saying, Johnny and Crystal, in that space where they're allowed their thinking time, that is where their learning is happening. So by removing that, we're not giving them the opportunity to practice things that they may be thinking about, or methods that they may be trying to recall to actually use and demonstrate in the classroom. It's what's really important with when we look at training the staff, that we do follow the NPTA method, because it looks at that stand-back approach that Crystal was talking about, and in that gap is where the independence starts to be built. So it's really important that we work with all staff with that ethos, so that they're aware of us not wanting to overstep the mark and actually allow that student time to work out what they want to do in their space.
And it links back to that whole approach of the how, not which. So it's how can the exercise that you're doing in your class work for that learner, not which exercise is going to suit that particular individual. It's about building that capacity and making sure that you're creating that inclusive environment without over-supporting and giving that the learner the opportunity to develop independence and to grow and to learn and think for themselves.
And I think what could be at the heart of it is assistive technology as well. I very much have been daunted by assistive technology as a practitioner, but actually once you really get into it, start to understand it, play around with it and use it, it can really be your best friend.
Absolutely, it's life-changing for the learner and for staff. You know, I can think of several examples of using assistive tech for the first time with a learner, and then you can just see that light bulb moment where they're like, oh my goodness, I'm using this dictate feature, and all of a sudden I've got my voice down on paper, whereas they may have dyslexia, or they may have another processing need, and they're flying.
And that's because of confidence building, isn't
absolutely.
it? And the independence that then comes with the confidence.
It's really empowering, and these skills is the best opportunity for learners to have equity outside of college, into the workplace, into being prepared for adulthood, in sort of supervising and looking after their money and their bills. If they can use assistive technology almost as the first go-to thought they have, they won't always have the LSA and the staff around them, so it's important to build them up ready for that independent time in their life.
Yeah, it's like that, like you said, Emma, it's that level playing field.
Yeah.
For, assistive tech will get you there quicker.
Yeah.
Which should be embraced and not shied away from.
And of course, I'm guessing that all assistive tech, is completely inclusive because it is available for everyone, which means that one particular learner no longer feels that they're using something nobody else is using.
Yeah, it's really important, I think, Steph, what you've said there, to not distinguish assistive tech just for learners who have ALN or other difficulties, that it is actually available to all learners and staff to create it as much more of a normalised way of working, therefore that reduces the stigmatism that's attached to assistive tech, and that learners who perhaps don't have ALN may really benefit from some of the features that are available when it comes to producing their work.
Okay, let's get some top tips in here.